We live in a dynamic world, but some things never change. Fear of quant, fear of maths is one such thing among students, isn't it? Many of you were scared of maths in your 10th, 12th standard. Many of you did not take maths in 12th standard, scared of 10th maths itself. And many of you who were even good at maths in your 10th standard are struggling when it comes to the maths or quant that's asked in all these exams. Which exams am I talking about? Bank exams, SBI PO, IBPS PO, insurance exam, RBI and all such exams. It's not difficult because so many people do so very well in it, but it's not very easy as well, as is evident from the fact that many people who did really well in the 10th standard maths struggle in it in the beginning. It's not always true, but yes, it does happen with so many students. So what is it? What's there in it that causes so many problems to so many students? No, when we were in our 10th, 9th, 10th standard, the way we studied was different. Doing the same things for so many years, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and standard, and gradually building a foundation. Here, what tends to happen at times is one of the reasons is that you suddenly try appearing for these exams. It looks simple, times per distance, percentage, and all those things that you have done in your school previously. Suddenly you realize you're not doing it fast enough. You are not able to cope with the pressure of doing so many questions so little time. We used to have time in school, all these things, and that the process of adapting to the paper actually becomes a little tedious, a little difficult for so many people. But if you take it methodically, if you first try and understand what the paper asks of you, expects of you, and then prepare accordingly, then it's not impossible. I can vouch for it, since I've seen so many students, hundreds of students who, when they started, were bad at it, plain and simple, bad. And when they ended up their journey and they were like quite good at it, they actually loved maths, loved quant, this kind of quant at least. So I do not expect all of you to start loving quant maths, but yes, you can definitely do enough to score well enough to crack the exam. And this is, I'm sure all of you do want, who are watching this, who are like bank aspirants, right? So this is the bare minimum that you'll expect, and this is possible. Trust me, this is possible. So what I'll do here is today that I'll it'll be something that I'll explain gradually. First, we'll share the content, the exact content of what is asked, because at times you understand what is asked, and still your priorities are misplaced a little. I'll explain, right, and then we will discuss how to go about it. So let's get started. Let's look at the syllabus of this quantitative aptitude of these exams, right? Let's get started. You would think that you know what the syllabus is, but still listen to it very carefully. I'll not take much time, right? So this is, I have divided into three parts, three groups. So this is arithmetic and data interpretation, probably the most important, the most challenging, the most intriguing, the most interesting part of your quant syllabus, probably the whole bank PO syllabus, and it is the thing for you in quant. So this is part 1. This is 2. 3 topics, easy ones: number series, simplification, approximation, quadratic equations. Not very difficult, very manageable, and this is where most students are comfortable. So this is number 2, and number 3, this is not much. So this is mensuration and probability. 2 topics does not appear too often. These 2 topics, they do not appear very often, but yes, a question or 2 can come in prelims and at times in mains as well. So we are talking about prelims here. This is the syllabus, all of it agree. This is what you understand. Now the problem here is that though you understand what the syllabus is, do you understand what all you need to study, at times while preparing for the exam, your priorities are a little misplaced. So you would probably spend an inordinate amount of time doing topics that are not that important, right? Or you would give too little time or tend to ignore topics that are very important, without which it's very difficult to clear the exam, things like that. So that is the reason that I'm spending time here. So I'm talking about prelims first. What do you have to do here? Prelims and SBI PO, IBPS PO, you are aware, it's 35 questions, 35 marks, simple paper, 100 marks paper, 35 questions, 20 minutes. This is for quant. So all these are simple questions, basic questions asked from these areas. So if I have to just divide it like that, in prelims, this would be, I would say, roughly like 25 marks, roughly 25 marks. So I'm talking about the average of what has happened in the previous few years, not a specific paper, but this is how it's been for the last few years, the average you can say. So out of 35, 25 marks, 25 questions would be here. This would be roughly 10, and this is 10, and this hardly exists. hardly exists. A question or two can come from mensuration, a question can come from probability. At times it's there, at times it's not there, generally not there. So this is like that. The questions can appear in prelims also in the form of rarely, very rarely, a different question type as compared to multiple choice questions, so which is okay. A question or two from data sufficiency and all can come, but the topics remain like that. Generally it would be 10 questions from arithmetic, 15 from data interpretation, and here out of these 3 topics 2 would come most probably, and 5 questions each. So that is the breakup of the paper. Most of you are already aware. The reason why I've put this here on the screen is that, you know, at times I've seen people, especially people who would say that they are good in prelims and not so good in mains and all, giving this number 2, number series, simplification, approximation, quadratic equations a lot of time. Fine. What they would do is that, because they just keep doing these 3 topics and thousands and thousands of questions here, they would be very good at this, but this tends to get ignored. Fine. You kind of tend to ignore it. You would be like, you know, scared of arithmetic. You would say, I don't need to do this. This can be avoided. I'll get away with doing this. This gives you 10 marks in prelims, and we'll do this. So at times it's 15. So 10, 15, around 25, 20, 25, between 20 to 25 in prelims, job done. If you get around 20 to 25 in prelims, it's mostly job done for you. So you can afford to just leave this, and this anyway is not present. So you will do just some DI practice and these 3 topics, and job done for you in prelims, isn't it? So many of you approach the paper like that. I do not blame you. Had this just been a prelims paper, I would have said this is a fairly good strategy. Data interpretation, you are aware, is different from arithmetic, but arithmetic would form the foundation of all higher level data interpretation. I'll put it this way. So DI questions in arithmetic in prelims is so simple that you do not need much arithmetic for that. If you are good at calculations, you have practiced 100, 200, 500 sets, you can crack most of those questions. If not at great pace, you can still do it, right? So this strategy works for so many people, and it's not a bad strategy, because these 3 topics I told you are easy. Data interpretation questions are not too difficult. So even if you know arithmetic, you can still get away without doing too many questions from arithmetic in the paper, because that's not really required, right? You got the point. But this is not true when it comes to the main exam. We'll talk about it. So this strategy is good. This is okay if you are talking about clearing prelims. So this is done. You do a lot of practice here, become really fast. Most of these students who, with this strategy, would do these 10 questions in less than 10 minutes, 5, 7, 8 minutes, and then this is done. 20, 25, not a bad score. And this is okay. The problem here is that when we talk about the main exam, fine, you're aware the syllabus remains the same. When we talk about the main exam, this still not very relevant, fine. This hardly exists. So this rarely seen, probably in one question you'll get a quadratic equation. Number series, 2 questions probably. And so this is, I'm talking about the papers of the last 5-7 years, both in SBI PO and IBPS PO, right, main exam. And this is slightly important, couple of questions, maybe a set at times, not very different from prelims, but the bulk of the paper is this, arithmetic and data interpretation. Now you'd say there is hardly any arithmetic, it's data interpretation, but the kind of DI questions they ask, they'll ask you questions on calculations, fine. At times they'll ask you questions on calculations, they'll ask you question on logic and numbers, and they will ask you questions on this arithmetic topics as well. You have seen those questions on sets, on profit and loss, and times per distance, time and work, and all like that. So data interpretation broadly would be like that, logic based. It can be in the form of a puzzle, fine, an innovative new kind of data set, some calculations, or it can be arithmetic, or it can be a combination of 3, like that. So here what tends to happen is this is absent, fine. So even if you do number series questions, you get 3-4 marks, and it is also not very simple like prelims. This can be there, cannot be there, no guarantee, but yes, something tends to come from either mensuration or probability, or even both. So 3, 4, 5 marks you can get from here, and it's not very difficult minded. We'll talk about it later. But the problem is that since you had left this in prelims, your foundation of arithmetic is not good enough, and that causes your problems, major problems, when you are doing that tough DI sets in the main exam. You got the point. So when I'm when I'm saying that you need to understand what your syllabus is, you need to not just clear the prelims, right? The objective is to clear the prelims? No. I mean, yes, you have to, but clearing only prelims? No, doesn't make sense. So what do you have to do? clear both the exams. So when you start preparing, students come to us, sir, mains ka batch de do, prelims ka batch de do. It doesn't work like that. If you do not understand the way I teach for prelims, or we do not say we teach for prelims or mains, you will struggle when I do the mains kind of questions, because if it's a tough DI set, I am doing an application of allegation here. You have not studied allegation properly, you will struggle. So there are so many things like that. Then there is topic based DI, you call it arithmetic based DI, that's obviously there. But even in questions that are logical, that are calculation based and all, you still need arithmetic. So the crux of what I'm saying is, many people struggle in quant DI, specifically in bank exams I'm talking about, because they are not good in arithmetic. I have seen people who are good at arithmetic not doing any arithmetic in prelims because they do not get time enough. They do DI and simplification and all these things and get around 25, 27, they are okay with it. But that knowledge of arithmetic would come in handy when they go and appear for the main exam. And that is the reason I strictly advise against you leaving arithmetic or taking it up lightly. It forms the foundation of data interpretation. And trust me, this is the problem with so many students. One major problem. There are other problems as well, test taking skills, so many things, we'll talk about it. But one major problem when it comes to struggling in quant and DI and bank exams is that you are not good at arithmetic. Now you would say it's one of the tougher topics of this. Yes, I agree, I understand. It's one of the tougher ones. If you compare with simplification or quadratic and number series, these are simple topics. But this is a little more time consuming, but very interesting as well. I'll explain how to do it. But yes, that is one major problem. You got the point? So you would, when you look at the syllabus, you would feel this is there, I can probably leave this gets easier, requires practice, these are all practice questions, we can leave this and go away with like that and do the job for us. No, not really. I would say ideally, because this is the starting of the season, most of you are starting to prepare for 2024, I would say do not leave anything. Fine, just do everything. Why this hardly appears? Because I have seen that the question or the set, especially in mains, because many of you would face problem in mains, not in prelims. I told you the strategy for prelims, it works for so many people very beautifully. You would find an easy set from either this or this, very doable, and you do not have to do much. So you do not have to do geometry, you just have to do mensuration. Leave geometry. It hardly comes, never comes, times in test series probably, but it's mostly mensuration, so you can just do mensuration. Permutation combination I have not seen. As such, it's mostly probability questions. So just do what is required, not much, but the set that comes when you practice from test series and all, you will bump into those sets. So you will realize what really comes. At times they can be tougher than the actual exam, but that's okay. Fine. So do not leave it because you'll have time at this stage, but do not at the same time waste a lot of time on mensuration probability, but you have to do it at this stage. I'll stop here when it comes to mensuration probability. I'll not talk more about it. Just do the basics of this. Look at the kind of questions they come. Do not ignore it. This will come in handy at the time of the main exam, right? So I'm talking about topics now, these three groups. Let's talk about this number 2. Now this is really important. This is really important because this gives you quick marks in prelims. Not important for mains except for number series, but this gives you very quick marks in mains. Those people who are good do these 10 questions, it's like 10 questions most of the times, in 5 minutes, 7 minutes with 100% accuracy. This is super important. Everybody should do it. Everybody should do it. You're good at maths, bad at maths, whatever, do it. Hardly any basics, very simple topics. What it requires is a lot of practice. A lot of practice. You would say everything requires practice. No, these 3 topics are special. They are mostly practice topics. I mean, you see a lot of tutorials on YouTube just doing these 3 topics, practicing, not doing anything else. They're the easiest to do. You just have to do 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 questions. I mean, don't know where to stop. So yes, this is how it works. Not much to understand, a lot to practice. It works this way. And the third one, this one would be a lot of understanding, especially in arithmetic, and then a lot of practice would be like that. Data interpretation would be not much to learn or understand as such, except for few basic things, and then a lot of practice. So I would say this is practice, this is practice, this is practice, this is practice, and this is practice plus a lot of concepts before that. So if I have to just break it up like this, I would say that these topics would be 10% understanding and then 90% practice. 10 units of understanding and then 90 units spent in practicing it. This would be, arithmetic would be 50 units of understanding and 50 units of practice. And what tends to happen is, now please understand this very carefully, you will understand where the problem lies. most people start with number series, simplification, quadratic. So what tends to happen is they set their expectation like this. I can just understand this really quickly and then solve questions, a lot of questions very fast. No, you understand number series. What's there in number series? Want to do basic methods. After that, you watch a session with 50 questions in it. You solve 50 questions on your own after that in 20-25 minutes, 30 minutes. You say it's very good, very nice. Simplification, the same thing. Quadratic, the same thing. You learn a few basic tricks, start doing it. Then you come to arithmetic and you understand, oh, I'm stuck at percentage. Yahi nahi samajh mein aa raha. What do I do? Because these two are fundamentally very different, fine? So do not compare those topics. They are very different. A chapter on percentage can take an equal amount of time as these three topics combined if you're not great at it, if you were never great at it in school, right? You got the point? So it'll take time, give it the time it deserves, be very patient, and then will come the time when you will gradually start improving and you will come to that practice part. There also you will find problems. There also you will find things that will trouble you, but you will gradually get over it. It will take time. It will not be as quick as those three topics. But once you develop an interest on it and once you start understanding it, you would get interested in it, and you would get interested, you will get deep into it, then you'll spend a lot of time cracking problems, solving problems, and then that's the point where you become so good in arithmetic and data manipulation gradually that this would cease to be a challenge. आपको लगेगा तो बहुत ही simple है. It's a process. I'll explain the process, but this is how it works, and this is where most people stumble. Coming from those three easy topics, jumping to arithmetic DI, especially slightly tougher questions, you will feel ये क्या जंजाल है, कैसे होगा ये? How do I do this? I do not know. I'm very bad at it. Things like that. You lose confidence. You'll feel either I'm not good, or my teacher is not good, or my book is not good, or my video is not good, whatever, but something is not working. Though the fact is that everything might be good, might be okay at least, but you are being a little impatient. You're not giving it the time it deserves. Show it some love, treat it with some patience, and then it'll start loving you back gradually. It'll take time, but it'll happen, right? It is really important that you give it the time it deserves. Otherwise, this is not going to happen. This is true for people, specifically for people who think they are bad at maths. They tend to struggle at maths, and maths किसी तरह निकल जाए बस. बाकी will score in English and reasoning and GK and all. कहीं से ले आएंगे, interview में will do well. किस तरह निकल जाए? No, I would say the first thing you need to do is change this mindset. Do not think किसी तरह निकल जाए. Do not think I just have to somehow clear it. Start thinking like, this is the start of the season. Start thinking like, can I be good in maths this time? You learn so many things. The things that you do not know, you start learning them later in life. You become good at it. You do not know swimming. You jump into the water, you will drown. No, डूब जाओगे. You learn. Gradually you will get better. There will be a point when you say, I'm an expert swimmer. सीख जाओगे ना पक्का. Same is true for driving. Same is true for anything in this world. If you try, you'll get better. So what is different with maths? It's true for any subject. Maths is the same. Just that you need to first tell yourself, I need to learn this. I will learn this. And then you start working towards it. And then you do not give up and keep going, and you'll get better. And you'll score at least enough to crack these bank exams. You get the point? So this is what I wanted to first make you understand before going into the details. As I discussed, when you want to learn something new, it's always a process. It's never an event. So this thing, learning any subject, specifically I'm talking about quant, can be divided into 3 stages. So this is the first one, fundamentals. As I said, learning the concepts by heart. You can, learn in a variety of ways. So for example, I've seen people who would say, there's nothing in quant, just do 50 practice sets, or 500 practice, or 5,000 practice sets. It's done. Practice makes the man perfect. You've heard of it, but it's not exactly like that. You first need to do it, learn to do it the right way. And so, for example, if you want to become a cricketer, you want to bat, fine. So you'll need some guidance from YouTube, some guidance from some coach or some mentor or somebody like that. If you do not know how to bat, if you've not learned the basics, बिल्कुल basics भी नहीं पता, क्या practice करोगे? आप गलत करोगे ना? So that's the reason that you first need to know what exactly do I need to work on? What exactly do I need to achieve through practice, right? You get the point? So the first stage is not practice. No, this is where people make a mistake. So it might work in those 3 easy topics, simplification, quadratic and series, but it'll never work in arithmetic DI. You first need to know a lot of things, a lot of intricacies of the subject, and then you practice. So that is the reason that I made this small flowchart kind of a thing. Learning the concepts by heart, it will take time, it will be frustrating, it will test your patience, you need the right resources, everything needs to be perfect, and then you will learn. So this is the first stage. The second stage would be practice, building speed and problem solving ability. Now, as I already mentioned, this learning the concepts comes first and practice comes next, and this will be different for different subjects. So for example, in arithmetic, as I said, 50 units of time devoted to learning the concept and 50 units to practice. Do not get impatient, just keep doing it the first part, and then the second part would be very interesting. So this is different for different topics, this is different for English, this is different for reasoning, different for different topics of quant. So you decide for yourself based on your strengths and weaknesses what is the time it's taking. My advice would be not to compare one topic with the other. So you do not say, I learned this in an hour and then I practiced for 50 hours. There might be something else that takes 25 hours in learning and then 25 hours of practice would be enough. Got the point? Just keep this in mind. I'm reiterating this because this is really important. People actually fail to understand this and end up getting frustrated. For practice, what sources do you use? You can use a variety of sources. Fine. You can use a test series, you can use those PDFs, you can use even CAT books, CAT previous year's questions, and so many other things. So it depends completely on you. One question that people ask me, and I'm sure you do not want to ask me where to practice simplification and quadratic and series questions. A test series would just do wonderful for you. It will be great practicing through a test series. Fine. I'm not saying start taking the test from the first stage. There are a lot of practice questions also in the test series. You can use that, right? So when it comes to a subject like arithmetic, this is where people ask questions like, do CAT books help? So there's so many CAT books. So do I do arithmetic from there? Yes, you can do it from there. Is it required? Is it mandatory? No, it's not mandatory. You can skip it and directly go to the questions that have been designed for your exam. So you do not miss anything. All the content creators, while creating the content, pick up all the good questions, some inspiration from those questions. You will kind of do everything, even if you skip the CAT books and go directly to a test series, a good test series, a test series of your choice, and do a variety of questions from there. So it's not mandatory, you can do it your way. But my advice would be, okay, I'll first just tell you this, the third stage first, and then I'll tell you. Mock tests. Mock tests would be actual tests. This is what you buy a test series for. So the process would be like that. Fundamentals first, I explained, practice, and then mock tests. So you would say both of them are practice only. No, there's a difference. So this second level of practice is different practice. So it's like you learn the concepts of percentage and then do 50 questions, 100 questions. This is practice. This is stage 2. Fine. This is not stage 3. Mock test is when I ask you to do questions within a stipulated time limit. So I would say do 20 questions of this topic of percentage or quant or times per distance or the complete quant or English, whatever, in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. That is a test. So this is different from the second stage of practice. And you have to go exactly like that. Fundamentals first, then practice questions, and then the third level would be mock tests. The utility of these three are different. Fundamentals is for understanding the topic, you understand that. Second level would be to get speed in there, so especially in the easier topics, those three topics I mentioned. So once you learn the fundamentals, you need to learn to apply them as well. That's where the second stage comes in handy. Now you've done percentage, you've done times per distance, profit and loss, and time and work, and everything, numbers and simplification, everything. Now you are confident, you've learned the fundamentals, you've done a lot of practice, solved thousands of questions. What is the final challenge now? Is the job done? No. You have to finally crack an exam. Now you do tests that appear in the format in which the exam comes, right? So if it's for prelims, then it'll be 35 questions, 20 minutes. That's the format of the exam. Likewise for mains. So you get to do tests in that format through mock tests. How do they help? Because it's about converting your knowledge into marks. This is how I put it. You acquired knowledge in the first step. You worked upon your knowledge in the second step to start cracking the questions. It's done. But you have to now actually crack the questions. So this is like a practice match. Right? So in the third stage, you within that stipulated time limit start doing the questions, and that's where different things come into the play. Things like selecting the right questions. It's really important. You select the right questions, not do everything. This is not 10th board exam in which you start from number 1, number 2, number 3 and start doing everything. No, you cannot do it like that. So there are strategies for that. We have done sessions on mock analysis and all those things. So you'll find it on this channel. I'll share the link. You can just go through some of those sessions. You'll understand for people who are already started in their preparation journey, right? And then this third stage, the mock tests help you in that. So if you follow the process like that, exactly like that, and this is true across subjects, not just quant, reasoning, English, everything remains the same, then you tend to get the best benefit of your time. Look, everybody would learn. So if, for example, your strategy is not correct, you're doing it in not an optimal manner, you would still benefit. If you are solving a lot of questions of those 3 easy topics, you will get better at them. But the thing is, do you actually need to get better at something beyond element? No, I'll just make you understand this thing. So for example, if you look at this practice, so let's assume, because number series comes in almost all prelims tests, 5 questions on number series. Now there is somebody who can do these 5 questions in 90 seconds. Right? There's somebody like that. When many people do number series really fast, prelims number series, and you're still practicing. You're practicing solving 25 questions on number series. You get a lot of practice material at a very reasonable price, even free of cost. Now you keep practicing those 100, 500 questions on a weekly basis, and you can bring the speed down to 80 seconds, for example. Would it help? It would help, but if you look at this, is it reasonable? Is it advisable? No. What would you do? You will save 10 seconds here. If it's a prelims test, 10 seconds in a 20-minute test, you can probably do one more question. 10 seconds would not be enough to do even that one more question. Had it been 120 seconds and you could have brought down to 80 seconds, I would have said probably yes. But no, the incremental difference that it's making is so little that it's not advisable. I would just say maintain the speed that you have already. So 90 to 120 seconds in 5 questions. This is just an example. People do faster than that, people do slower than that, and they do all good in the paper, right? So do you actually need to bring it down further? Should I not give some more time to arithmetic or DI, for example, or to reading comprehension, or to my test taking skills and other things, right? This is where people make a mistake. At times people get stuck with doing a lot of practice for those topics in which they are good, because that gives them the confidence. It's a feel good thing. You keep doing it and you will feel, I'm good, I'll crack this. No, say you're very good in quadratic, so you do 100 questions daily. 100 questions will not take you any time. Really good. But what you do not realize is that you're doing it at the cost of something else. Quadratic, you are already so good that you'll crack 5 questions in 90 seconds, 120 seconds. So what is the need of practicing 300 questions of quadratic daily? Is it required? You say, I want to maintain speed. Good, maintain speed. But then try and figure out a number. How many questions daily on a weekly basis would do the job for you? You do not need to do more than that. Why? Is it going to harm you? No, not directly. But because that time would come from somewhere. The day is of 24 hours only. If you allot 10 hours to studies, it will remain 10 hours only. You could have done something else. And that's where I would say nobody's strategy would work for you. Think for yourself. What is my strength? Am I reasonably good at it? Yeah. What do I need to do then? Do I need to work a little more on it? Probably no. I'm good enough to crack the paper. I need to just work on some things where I'm bad. And I need to crack them as well. So a little more time there, like that. So it's not that something strong, you do not practice at all. No. If you do not capitalize on that strong area of yours, that's a mistake. But at the same time, you have to be reasonable. You have to curb your instinct, natural instincts, and go to those topics that are weak, and push them to a level that is high enough for you to be able to crack the exam. That enables you to crack the exam. You got the point? Now you would ask me how much time where? Look, I can give you a timetable and say 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 20 minutes there. But the fact is that there is no strict timetable for anybody. It should be customizable. It should be your timetable. How much time you need in a particular question type and all those things, right? Where are you weak? So there can be somebody who is good at arithmetic but not so good at quadratic equations. It's never done it. A little more time there. You try and practice. You try and crack the mock tests. Take the mock tests and then you analyze them. Analysis of mock tests is important. I told you, I've done a few sessions. I'll pin them here, right? After analysis, you would know where I need to work on. जब डॉक्टर के पास इलाज कराने जाते हो तो जो बीमारी है उसी का इलाज करते हो ना, isn't it? You go to a doc. What would you say? Sir, I'm ill. Treat me. No. What would you say? My elbow is hurting. Fine. I have fever since yesterday evening. And things like that. I feel like throwing up. कुछ पेट खराब है. And then happens and ask you further questions. So who's your doctor here? You're your doctor. There's nobody giving you customized advice here. You would ask yourself, why did I not score here? What went wrong? What did I do? I scored here, not in this zone. This is probably weak for me. What do I do then? Lament? No, I work on it and I'll improve, isn't it? That's the process. It's a very simple process. Fundamentals, then practice questions. How much is enough for you? You would know. So some people would get better in quadratic equations after doing 100 questions, 200 questions. Somebody else would take 1000 questions. It's different people. So if you want to learn dancing, somebody would learn in 5 days. Somebody else might take 5 months, isn't it? So can there be a formula which says these many questions? Decide for yourself. You're smart people. You know how many would you need, because after a point you would feel I'm reasonably confident, comfortable cracking this. It means I'm good. Let's focus my attention to some other thing. It works like this. What did I say in the beginning? Misplaced priorities. Just be wary of that. You're going through some classes. They're saying today is a quadratic practice session. We'll do 500 questions of quadratic in 2 hours. Marathon session. Ask yourself, do I need this session? No, probably not. I need to crack some puzzles because that is my not so good zone, right? Quadratic is your area in which you believe you know it, but you need some practice. Then that session makes 100% sense for you. You got the point. So it's different for different people. Customize your preparation accordingly, and then you would understand what exactly do you need to work upon to score better. I hope you got the point. Guys, you need to tell yourself the thing that I told you in the beginning. I can crack this, and this is really important. And then you start working towards it, and you will crack it. I'm sure most of you, or almost everybody that's sitting here listening to me, would not know how to fly a helicopter, a chopper. Do you know that? And almost zero chance. Fine. But if I tell you to learn it, would you be able to? Why not? People do it, so even I will be able to learn that. It's not a fighter jet. That's true for almost everything in this world. Somebody can be very good at it. Somebody would be like at okay level. But to crack this exam, you do not need to be very good. You just need to be okay. If you can be above okay, that's wonderful. A little above that, great, awesome. You do not need to be great at it. You just have to be okay at it, and you need to be smart. Because I told you, knowing something and then applying that knowledge to crack the exam are two different things. That third stage, I told you, honing your test taking skills is really important. So I've talked about it, we've done multiple sessions on this channel. We have talked about how to take mocks, how to derive optimal benefit out of mocks and all. I believe this is one thing, that series of sessions that you really need to watch to understand how to make use of that. So go through it. There's other useful stuff on the channel that you can go through. You can look at our paid programs as well. That's all there on the website. Fine, so that's all there. But I would strongly urge that you try and understand how to make use of the practice material, how to make use of the mock tests, how to analyze the mock tests, how to derive that benefit out of it. I told you the first thing because of which people fail. It's because of which many people fail, because they tend to neglect arithmetic. Fine. Another reason would be, and this is true across subjects, would be that they do not know how to convert their knowledge into marks, how to make use of tests. Test series is practice material. Yes, it is practice material, but at the same time, it teaches you a lot of other things as well. So for that, I would recommend a session. You can just go through it, and I'm sure it's going to help you. And do it, go through it, learn from it, and then promise yourself that you have to crack it this year. That's really important. Tell yourself, kar sakta hu yaar. So many people do it. Why can I not do it? So with this, I'll take you leave. Do watch this session. This is really important. Go through it, and you will understand a lot about test taking. This is it, guys. I'm taking leave. Thank you very much for listening to me patiently. God bless you. All the best.